All right, now we'll be discussing some common clauses in an operating agreement. I have a basic operating agreement in front of me. It is including exhibits, which I highly recommend. It is 14 pages long and it has 5 pages worth of exhibits. And I'll just kind of go through it piece by piece so you can see if an operating agreement that you have has some good language in it or has some good clauses in it, or you can maybe tell the difference between a poor operating agreement and a better operating agreement. One thing I'd like to note for all of my Idaho viewers is that there was an update to the Idaho Uniform Limited Liability Act. And so you need to make sure that your current operating agreement is in compliance with that act, because most of the operating agreements in the preamble say that you are going to utilize that section of the code even if it's amended. So you need to make sure that you update your operating agreement. And it's always good to update your operating agreements over time because you need to become familiar and know exactly how, or make the document reflect how you are treating your business and how you are running your business. So usually it begins with just the titling. So whatever LLC, put its name, comma, LLC, and then define it as a manager managed or a member managed LLC. That definitely assists the state, because then they can apply the specific clauses for a member managed or a manager managed. And then it has a little preamble there, and it talks about how the section of the Idaho code that you want to be using. So in this case, it's the Idaho Uniform Limited Liability Act. It will be updated again within the next year or two. And then Article 1, so I always like to put sections, so I divide up the sections so it's easier for the reader, and then have something in there that says the section isn't necessarily indicative of the content below. That's just some basic lawyer information. So you want to talk about formation, that you are going to have articles of organization that accompany this document and be filed with the state. You do not file operating agreements in the state of Idaho, and they will not accept them. Then you can identify your registered office and agent. You can define the term, and with the term, talk about those situations that you want the company to be terminated. So when there's dissolution, when it becomes unlawful, resignation, bankruptcy, that kind of stuff, because those are all triggering events and you no longer want to run the company in those instances. Continuance, if somebody wants to buy out somebody's right. Business purpose, powers, principal place of business, the members, and I always put that in an exhibit. We can look at that. Admission of additional members. So you want to make sure if 3 people only want to do business with 3 people, they don't want to bring other people in, define that in the document. That way you don't have an issuing of new membership shares and then get people you don't want in the company. So Article 2, capital contributions, that's an important section. Are people donating money, skills? I usually have a clause talking about tangible and intangible contributions. 3, profits, losses, and distributions. Do you want them all split equally? I mean, somebody's putting up $150,000, someone else is just putting up carpentry skills. Do you want them both to get 30% of the profits if it's a three-person membership, or is there some other way to get a good return on people's money? Distributions, remember you have to follow the Idaho Treasury Treasury regulation, 1.704-1B2II. Go see a lawyer. I'm just giving you the things I put in. They may or may not be applicable to you, but you do have to keep track of capital contributions and make sure that those distributions follow the IRS and Treasury guidelines. Management, that's probably the most important part, at least for me, in operating agreements. Is the management of the business. Who's in charge? Who can make decisions? How many votes does it take? I usually make an exhibit for this, have the client fill it out, and then I correct it and use all the legal jargon and put all of that in their document. But just refer to that exhibit. It's a lot easier than trying to write it into some of these preset paragraphs. So management of the business, the members, are they going to be part of the company? And then the powers of the managers. So I outline all of those in my operating agreements because it's very important. I even have 10 or up to D subsections. And another thing here is I put an example. I think that whenever you use something in a document, you should, one, give the formula or the definition, give the definition first. So fair market value, boom, give a definition. Okay? Then two, you put the formula on how you would determine fair market value. And then three, you use it in an actual example. Do the math yourself and put it in the document so people can see how you should be using that document 10 years from now. Okay, that's very critical. So I do that even in management. Nominees, company information, members do have the ability to access accounting books. Indemnification, standards of care, records. There are certain standards of care that you cannot get out of. You can't put in your operating agreement that members can't, or don't have a duty of loyalty or a duty of care. I mean, there are certain duties that you can and can't. Delaware is the most liberal state as far as allowing their members to do just about anything that they want. But a lot of the states are much more restrictive. Go see your attorney in your state who is a business attorney. So records, boom, what you're going to keep in your business file. Compensation, are your managers just going to be paid with their distributions, or are they going to have a salary and then the company gives distributions? So for instance, here I go, giving you this example. Are they going to get paid $50,000 for the year? The company made $150,000. So they give out the salary of $50,000 to the managing member, and then the three of them split the $100,000. Or is it $150,000 and then they split that three ways and just issue distributions? So make sure you define that and put that in the document. Bookkeeping is very important. I recommend every company have a CPA and a small business CPA. You can talk to your lawyer. He probably knows several. Transfers, so assignment. I always put a little clause in there even for divorce. If you can assign this or not. So you need to make that decision. Certification of members. So that just means that the members all agree and abide by this operating agreement. In Idaho, if you do become part of an LLC, there is a presumption that you do agree with the operating agreement. So before you start in with a company, make sure you get a copy of the operating agreement. All right, so now I'm in exhibits. Exhibit 1 is management, and I divide that into unanimous consent. So what business decisions need everybody agreeing to it? Majority consent, so 2 out of 3, or and you can outline that for whatever you want your majority to be for how many members there are. decisions that certain managers can make by themselves and independently and don't have to consult other members or other managers. I always have that. And then I also include signature pages on all of these so that everyone knows that they agree to these exhibits. It's kind of a double check. It's kind of boring, but I think it's always good because what is to say, I don't trust anybody, so what is it to say that somebody didn't take the operating agreement, print an exhibit, and just staple it to it later? I always say put a signature because that's better than nothing. All right, roles of each member and manager. I like defining those roles so you know if people are doing what they promised at the very beginning. You're all on the same page. Doesn't take a lot of effort. This one's a little over a page long, single spaced, 1.5 space maybe. And I think it's great. It gets everybody talking and gets everyone to have the same expectations. Okay, Exhibit 3, well, this is just kind of unique for this business. They had a line of credit. So I wanted them to all make a statement on what they planned on using that line of credit for, who is securing that line of credit, and when should that line of credit be paid back. That way it's all on the same page. Exhibit 4 is just the listing of members. So what percentage do they all own in the business? And their address, names, and everybody signs it. And then your Exhibit 5 is the capital contributions. And I have you put them all in and what those equal as a percentage of the company. So those are some clauses that you should kind of look for. I don't really go into them too much because I don't give legal advice. I just am here to educate you on some common clauses and kind of why they should be in there and some results that could happen if they're not and some results that could happen if they are. If you have any questions, please comment on my videos or contact my law firm. Thank you very much. Have a good day.